tonight, and I think the devil's paying close attention to what we're about to say. A little computer glitch that Gary went up to his room to collect a password and reboot his computer and fix it. But he must want me to tell a story or sing or dance, and I can't sing like my wife, and I can't dance at all. One of the frozen chosen. Anyway, I'll try to entertain you with stories, and until he gets back down here. There's one that's really close to my heart. Some of you probably heard it before. How many people were here last year? Quite a lot. Well, you might get to hear it again. Maybe you forgot it by now. Around the year 2000, a little after the turn of the century, I was down in Florida at a prophecy conference with God's News Behind the News. And normally I would go down to that conference and I would drive the van down and pull a trailer down and run the book tables. And normally I would collapse at the end of the event and take 2 days vacation to go to the beach. And we were so poor and destitute back then that that was the only vacation we could afford to take. But this year, after doing this regularly for several years, we decided to leave 2 days early, go to the beach first and get a suntan, and come to the conference with a little color in our face. So try to picture this. It's the morning of our first day of vacation in Florida. And we just check out of our hotel room when my cell phone rings. And it's the principal of my son's Christian school. And he says to, and also my Bible study teacher, and he says to me, "Bob, I've got some really bad news for you. Your house burned down last night." Well, I had no renter's insurance. I was living in this scrummy little 40-year-old house and couldn't afford $10 a month for renter's insurance. And so I quickly added up what was about to happen to me and realized I've just lost everything I own, like everything except the clothes I have with me. And so what do you do in that case when you just realize the whole world crashed down on you? And I'm sure some of you know the feeling, I suspect. And so we decided to stay at the conference. We didn't have anywhere else to go. And so we stayed down there for we were gone for around 7 or 10 days. And my old friend Joe Vancouvering from God's News Behind the News took an offering for us. And he sent us home with almost $13,000, which at the time was like $1 million to us. And we thought we were really in the money. And then to have to start replacing clothes and furniture and all that stuff. So when we got home, it was freezing cold in Oklahoma. I mean, it was bitter, it was rainy, and we pulled up to what used to be our house to this shell of a burned out spectacle. And it was still standing. It wasn't completely burned down, but what damage the fire didn't do, the firemen did. It was filled with water, everything was destroyed. I walked into the garage and I thought to myself, you know what, all this furniture and all this stuff can be replaced. But all I thought about was all of the memories we had with our children. My wife used to keep these memory boxes for each of the kids. And she would pack them in. And if you've never seen a Steve Quayle book box, believe me, it's heavy duty. And we would get these Steve Quayle heavy duty book boxes and she would pack them with all the kids' memories and their first pictures with the doctor, pictures with the grandparents, and she would wrap them up in packing tape. And there were several boxes up there, but one for my son Brad, one for my daughter Caitlin, one for my daughter Alyssa. Well, the story behind this is that fire that night started in my little girl's bedroom by the door, and both my girls were really heavy sleepers. If we had gone down to Florida like we normally would, they would have been in the room when the house caught fire and probably not survived. And so we kind of took a lot of grace and mercy from that and just appreciated the fact that we still had our kids and we still had each other. So when we get home, we go in the garage and I pulled down the attic stairs and they were burned and crumbling and crooked, and I climbed up anyway because that's where the memory boxes were. And I was just hoping something would be up there that survived. So as I climbed those steps and got up a little bit higher, I saw a box sitting on the only floorboard in the attic that didn't collapse. The whole roof is gone, it's all blue sky, and I'm up there on this rickety, crooked ladder, and I'm looking at this envelope box, and the whole top of it is covered with ash. So I grabbed it, and I looked at it, and I thought, what is this? Well, it was all of the memorabilia from my wedding day. Our pictures, our invitations, the flowers that were on the table, everything that we'd put aside had been preserved on this literally one little floorboard in the whole attic. And I just thought to myself, how cool is that? But then it got better. I climbed up another step higher to try to get a better look. And as I reached up on that rectangular opening in the garage roof, I put my hand up to steady myself, and I noticed that that flat 2x6 was elevated in a certain part. And I climbed up a step higher so I could get a better look at what I was looking at, all covered in black soot. And then I realized what I was looking at. Each of those memory boxes for my kids had a photo album in it that my wife had put together. And I quickly realized that what was jammed into that one little opening, preserved between the stairway and the attic, were 3 photo albums. One for my son, Brad, one for my daughter, Caitlin, one for my daughter, Alyssa. They'd been taken out of those memory boxes by someone and jammed into the only hole in the attic that survived. And you know, I keep those on a little shelf in my garage, and every time I walk in the garage at night, they're standing there right as I walk in the door. And I just think to myself, how good is God? That the only thing's important to us, He preserved for us. How we doing? Do I need to keep going?
Bob, keep going.
Okay. Wait, it gets better. So, as we're going through the house, I'm just looking to salvage anything I can find. And I remembered we had this box of pictures of the whole, the kids, the whole family in this banker's box in the hall closet. So I go down the hallway into the hall closet, and there's no door on the closet. It burned off, and all the winter coats in the closet are all sitting down in ashes. There's probably 15 or 20 jackets down there. They're all burned up. And so I started digging through the ashes, because I knew at the bottom of the closet, that's where my pictures were. And I'm talking about pictures that go back from the first day we were married all the way through time. So I'm digging through the ash and just try to picture this. I get to the very bottom of the ash, and there's the banker's box. The lid is still on it. It's covered in black soot, and I open it up inside, and there's every single one of our family pictures. So the only things that mattered, survived the fire, the family, the memories, are all still with us.